deep dive dialogues
Eso.
where nothing is as appears on the surface and the conversation gets deep.
Dale.
So, aquí conmigo, yo tengo el maestro de Bilingual Blogs, o como quieres que te presento.
Bueno, que lo que mi gente. Yo soy Ricky de Bilingue Vlogs. Sí. Me llamaba antes el americano más dominicano, pero creo que es más dominicana que yo.
No. ¿Sabes qué? Tú nunca sabías eso, pero cuando yo estaba aprendiendo
Ajá.
todavía y buscando videos, yo vi un video tuyo.
Eso, con
Antes
el
de
acento
conocerte.
dominicano.
Sí, con el acento dominicano.
Eso. Así.
Entonces, él es un gran maestro, un profesional y alguien que también está ayudando a la comunidad con enseñar español y enseñar a los demás cómo cultivar la cultura y aceptar los demás. Entonces, esta entrevista va a ser un poquito en inglés y un poquito en español. ¿Y qué se llama eso?
Spanglish.
Spanglish.
Sí, vamos a hacerlo así.
All right, so I want to start by asking you, how did you start speaking Spanish?
Bueno, so when I'm from Chicago originally.
Okay, Midwest.
So yeah, so being there.
Wait. Can you finish this sentence though?
¿Cómo así?
Do you know what the Midwest is?
The best.
No, young and restless. It's
Oh,
Kanye.
mira. Yo hablo español. Yo hablo español.
Okay, we'll still accept this. Ricky's from Chicago. Continúa. Entonces,
Sí.
¿cómo empezaste hablando español?
Sí, so I'm from Chicago. So there, I played soccer for, I don't know, since I was 8 years old.
Okay.
And I was surrounded by Mexican students and then Puerto Rican students as well. My best friend is half Colombian, so it's been around me since I was a kid. And since I speak so fast, como hablo muy rápido en inglés, es como que yo dije, es mucho más fácil hablar español porque ellos siempre hablan muy rápido.
Eso es lo que dije yo. Como yo aprendí al principio en España y yo dije, pues bueno, yo quiero hablar más rápido en español, entonces, ¿cuáles son los acentos que hablan rápido?
Exacto,
Entonces,
exacto.
tenemos eso en común.
Exacto, sí. Entonces yo empecé a los 12 años en la escuela, pero ya sabía mucho español, entonces decidí aprender por mi cuenta después de eso, porque como que en la escuela enseñan cosas súper básicas, pero no cómo conversar. Entonces empecé a escuchar música, hablar con mis amistades y cosas así. Entonces iba creciendo.
Okay.
Sí.
¿Y cómo enseñaste, pues, qué te provocó comenzar a enseñar español?
Bueno, porque yo sabía que había gente como yo.
Okay.
Sí, sabía que había gente que quería hablar español, que no tenía vergüenza de ser americano. Yo no tengo vergüenza, aunque mucha gente crea eso, pero como que quería experimentar otra cultura y también quería conectar a los no sabos con su familia también.
Ah, ya.
Sí, porque hay una comunidad grande de gente latina que no habla español, pero que quiere hablar español. Entonces, sí, eso.
Okay, so for me, I had a few Spanish teachers in high school who had like a huge influence
Yeah.
on my Spanish learning process. For you, not only the teachers, but what teachers or what influences would you say have helped you along your journey?
So definitely my uncle. He's not my uncle for real, but he's my best friend's
Your play uncle.
dad. Yeah, like that's literally what it is. He's Colombian, and then his wife is African American. My mom's childhood friend, and so he speaks Spanish, and then she speaks Spanish. I'm like, if she could do it, and she's black, I can do it too,
Right.
And then with me being there like 4 or 5 days out of the week, they live right around the corner from me. I was like, yo, I think I wanna really pick up this language. So he really was like the major influence there, despite my classmates and teammates from soccer being a huge influence too. Yeah.
Okay. So, in my learning process, I had to learn the correct way first, and then I started breaking all of the language rules by taking off S's. So, was your process similar, or what did that look like for you?
Exactly. No, the same process. Actually, I started off with Mexican Spanish because I'm being from Chicago. Playing soccer, we had Mexican Spanish. For 10 years, I spoke Mexican Spanish.
Okay.
I had no clue that Dominican Spanish, I didn't know what a Dominican even was, So then the first time I heard Dominican Spanish 10 years later in 2014,
Oh, wow.
I was like, this is not Spanish. What is this?
Yeah.
Because I was watching rap battles.
So, okay, when was your first time hearing Dominican Spanish?
En 2014, I was watching videos de Mozart La Para improvisando, como
I saw
la
that
tiradera.
too.
Si tú viste eso.
That is so crazy.
Uh-huh.
Like, that's really wild because my best friend is Dominican, Jose Jimenez. Shout out to him. That's why I learned Spanish. So my first Spanish was Dominican Spanish.
Yeah.
Well, hearing it, and then I learned in Spain.
Mm-hmm.
But he told me about the rap battles that took place in Spanish, and I watched that same rap battle that you're talking about.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's very interesting that you said that.
Exactly. No, Moza La Para, like the way that he can just freestyle, like and like nonstop, and it's like, it all makes sense. But back then it made zero sense. I'm like, yo, this is dique español, pero no es español. Entonces, it took me like 4 months of just constantly consuming that content and like just Dominican content for me to break down like, oh, it is Spanish. They just cut this, they just tweak this, they use these words, and then it really stuck with me. It became my default way of speaking after like 4 months.
Okay. And so, ¿hay otro acento que a ti te gusta? Aparte de mexicano y dominicano. ¿Hay otro acento que puedes hacer?
Sí, me gusta hablar así como los de los paisas, como los de Medellín.
Los colombianos.
Sí, ajá, eso porque mi tío es de Antioquia, entonces hablan un poco así, a veces. También como el acento puertorriqueño, pero tengo tiempo sin practicarlo. Guacho, papi, todo lo que está pasando, estaba aquí hablando español con Tamara, ¿sabes? Como eso, sí.
Okay, so what would you say is your favorite Colombian word that you've learned? Slang word, jerga.
Gonorrea.
Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know that one.
Es como... Es una expresión para algo bueno o para algo malo. Pero típicamente es para algo malo. Como que, gonorrea, se me olvidó la llave en la casa, algo así. Pero sí puede ser algo bueno o malo, sí.
Okay. Ahora, siendo que tú eres de Chicago y que tú hablas español perfectamente y estás bien conectado a la comunidad de los latinos y los hispanos,
sí.
¿Cómo tu familia reacciona a eso? O sea, como cuando eso comenzó, ¿cómo reacciona tu familia y hoy en día cómo reacciona?
Sí. Pues antes me trataban como un loco. Me decían, tú te crees mexicano, tú quieres ser mexicano. Porque yo siempre escuchaba la banda.
Banda.
Sí, la banda.
A mí me gusta eso, Cristian Nodal.
Yo conozco el nombre, pero a mí no me importaba. Solamente escuchaba la emisora 107.9, algo así.
Ok, la radio.
En Chicago, sí. Entonces, la banda y también la bachata. A mí me encantaba, sí. Okay. Empecé con Aventura, Mucha Alessandra y Extreme, pero pensaba que era mexicano, pero no, son dominicanos. Okay. Aprendí eso después, pero antes sí empecé con eso, pero sí me decían, él no quiere ser negro, me decían mexicano, pero estos días es como que, oye, ¿qué puedes traducir esto para nosotros?
Mi familia es igual.
Exacto, tan orgulloso de mí, de mi trabajo y todo lo que estoy haciendo, de mis logros y todo eso. Entonces, sí, después de mucho tiempo de saber que no era una fase, me aceptaron, sí.
Okay, so since it's called Deep Dive Dialogues, are you ready to go a little bit deeper?
Dale, vamos más profundo, let's go.
Okay, so we have your girlfriend here, but I want to talk about how your love life has influenced your Spanish. So do you think that through relationships you've learned more Spanish? And has that been a motivating factor at any point in time for you to continue your Spanish education?
That's an interesting question because I get this DMs a lot like, are you a passport bro? No. No, I'm not a passport bro.
Wait, explain that. I've never heard that.
You never? Okay, so a passport bro is somebody who's American.
Okay.
Typically they say that, like in this generation, that the American women are not raised to be wives. Okay. So men from America will go to other countries like Latin America, or Dominican Republic specifically, maybe the Philippines, and other countries where the women are more
submissive.
We could say submissive, more traditional in the sense of like they are taught literally to cook and clean, take care of the house. Okay. Whereas here is more independent. Women are more independent. They want to work and things like that. So some men prefer those type of women, so they go to those countries for that. So I think people thought that, he's learning Spanish, it's for the women. Yeah. And it's like that had zero to do with it, you know?
I'm not gonna lie. Like, when I first met a boy that I thought was attractive, I was like, definitely wanted to learn more Spanish to talk to him.
Yeah.
So if that's a motivating factor, it doesn't mean that you're what is it called?
A passport bro, yeah.
A passport bro.
Yeah.
But it still could be a motivating factor, the desire to communicate with somebody that you find attractive or, that you want to make your significant other.
Yeah, I think I did see Spanish as a romantic language.
It is.
And I did have crushes in middle school, and I would write girls' poems in Spanish because I said it was full of Mexicans.
So have you written music in Spanish?
Oh, that's how I started. When I was 12, I started writing my first songs in Spanish.
Okay, so let's go into that. So you're also so not only are you a Spanish teacher, an occasional translator for your family,
Right.
an active boyfriend, you also are a musician.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that and what you have going on with that.
I mean, nowadays I just make music for myself. I don't really release anything, but I love making music. I play guitar. I taught myself how to play guitar by ear. Taught myself how to play piano by ear. Exacto. Entonces, de hecho, yo tenía un contrato con una disquera en el que yo hacía bachata.
Okay,
sí, en el 2015 creo, con TMP Music. Entonces sacamos como 2 canciones con esa disquera. Y sí, tú sabes que me inspiró mucho Romeo Santos, porque él es muy poético. Muy poético, entonces me
gusta
encanta.
su voz también.
Sí, pero no es la voz, es su forma de escribir las canciones que me encanta. Entonces, after seeing how poetic he was, I'm like, yo, I want to do the same thing in Spanish, you know? So I started to write songs in Spanish. I always wrote songs in English. But, yeah, I think that really, like, taught me different genres. Because nowadays, I make more of, like, when I make a Spanish song, it's more like reggaeton. Or it could be, like, a trap Latino song. Like, I did Está Cabrón Serio, the Dominican version. And, like, people really love that on SoundCloud and, like, on my YouTube and stuff like that.
I have to check that out.
Yeah. So, entonces, no sé, es parte de quién soy yo, pero no saco música para la gente. Ahora saco música educativa.
Oh, okay. Eso está bien. Entonces, para las personas que están aprendiendo, hay canciones para eso.
Exacto. Sí, I have, like, 2 conjugation songs, so, like, the present tense, where I was, like, if rappers taught Spanish. So one's like 21 Savage, one's Travis Scott. I did one with like Drake and Nelly.
Okay.
And then I got one coming out soon with Pop Smoke. Like if Pop Smoke taught Spanish, it's gonna be The Commands.
Okay.
So yeah, I got I want to do a whole album like that, but right now I'm just working one song by one song.
Okay, so I love that. So I love how you've incorporated your different talents back into the primary thing that you do.
Yeah.
So we'll dive into that. So on top of everything else that Ricky does, he's also a known YouTuber of bilingual blogs.
Sí.
So tell us a little bit about that and the success that you've had with that too, because we got the little YouTube plaque in the back, which is a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, thank you, Jesus. That was actually on my vision board for like, I don't know, 3 years before I actually got it. So yeah, Bilingue Vlog started because I was living in Springfield, Illinois, where you're either black or white. You're not Spanish speaking unless you have a restaurant. Yeah.
Okay.
So I had to go to the restaurants to practice my Spanish, to keep up my Spanish.
But that's an interesting point, because I always tell my students, you have to do what you got to do in order to find people to practice or to implement what you're learning in class.
Exactly. So that was like, it was tough. So I'm like, yo, at the time I wanted to be an interpreter or a translator anyway. So I'm like, how can I keep my Spanish up without having to go to the Mexican restaurant all the time? And I was like, let's make a blog. So it really was just a blog where I would write an article in English and try to translate the same thing in Spanish, just to upkeep my Spanish. But it was helpful stuff to learn Spanish. And I was like, I think videos might have more traction. And I started doing videos. And then I did like, one of my first videos that took off was, no sé, black man speaking Spanish very well. And I was just speaking like Dominican Spanish the whole time. People were like, wow, tú no eres dominicano, tú hablas tan bien el español, como que. And then I was like, you know what? They were like, can you teach Spanish? I'm like, I can teach you how I learned it. Yeah. The unorthodox methods.
Right.
And people really love the unorthodox methods that I would teach. Exactly, because it's not like, you know, like they teach you in school. It's literally ways to apply it that you wouldn't think about. Right. You know, like talking to yourself. As you go out through your day, talk to yourself in Spanish. Making songs, you know, doing stuff that you're interested in, that is fun for you. And so I think that, you know, people really liked those things, and that started to evolve into me being able to put my music in there, or like comedy, doing skits and stuff. So it's really it's really evolved a lot over, I think I started in 2017 with that one, 2025. So what's that? 8 years? 8 years.
8 years. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so normally we end the episodes with a deep quote. A deep original quote. So yo quiero que tú hagas eso en inglés y en español. The deepest quote that you could think of, original from you.
Original from me?
Original.
I'm not prepared for this. I'm not prepared at all.
But I believe you have it in you. You're creative. So give us a deep quote. I'll start off by asking, what's the biggest life lesson that you've learned? It doesn't have to be related to to any language learning experience, but the deepest life lesson that you've learned
The deepest life lesson
throughout your
that I've
endeavors.
learned is to literally trust God. Put God first.
Put God first.
Yeah, because I got in my own way so many times. Like, I delayed this. I delayed even having my girlfriend, you know, because being in my own way, you know, not putting God first or just leaning on my own understanding. So yeah, trust God, put God first, and like the rest will fall into place, you know.
Okay. ¿Y ahora en español?
Sí, entonces sí, tiene que seguir a Dios, ponlo primero y lo demás caerá en su lugar. Eso.
Okay. And so if there are any people out there that are aspiring to learn Spanish or English or any other thing in life, whether it be music, any of the things that you've mentioned, music, if they want to start a YouTube channel, what piece of advice would you give them about getting started? Not specific advice, but to what they want to get started in, but about just taking the first step to get started in whatever it is.
Yeah, just start little by little. I think many people want to bite off more than they can chew at the beginning because they're so motivated, but motivation doesn't last. Discipline does.
Hey,
So,
I like that.
yeah.
Hey.
Maybe that's the quote. Maybe that's the quote I want to say.
Yeah, go ahead. See, I told you it would come. Go ahead, say it. What was it? Motivation doesn't last, but discipline does.
Yeah. Motivation doesn't last, but discipline does. O la motivación no dura, sino que la disciplina sí. Muy bien.
Okay.
Entonces, yeah, like many of my students, they're like, oh, I'll practice for 3 hours today, but then they'll go like 2 weeks without studying. It's like, I would much rather you do 15 minutes per day, 30 minutes per day, every single day, and get better every single day than do a big chunk here and then you're missing days and then you have to review and like learn more and more. So whatever you do, just get 1% better each day. You're going to see progress over time. That's the fastest way to learn, contrary to popular belief. You know, they're like, oh, how can I learn the fastest? Little by little every day.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you, Ricky, having me here in your home, and I hope you show me a little bit more of Miami before I leave.
Claro que sí.
And I appreciate you attending Deep Dive Dialogue.
Thank you for having me, Tamara. Tú sabes que lo que estamos activos. Muy bien. Eso. Muy bien.
That was good.
Yes.
And we still made good time.
Yes,
It's
we did.
7:06.
Great.